going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm here with Hoop. I'm here with DC. We had a great weekend. We had soccer, MMA. We had it all, but we're back here talking some baseball here on a Tuesday. We'll kick it off with you first, Hoop. How was the weekend, and are you ready for some hoops and MLB tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Weekend went well. Back to the grind here, obviously, throughout the week. Tuesdays are my least favorite day of the week. The wife works Monday nights, and now the kids are off school, so I was on dad duty all day trying to keep the kids occupied while she napped. So Tuesday's not my favorite day, but we're grinding here. We got the PGA show tonight. And if you didn't see the tweet, we're giving out a ticket to the DraftKings 888 US Open contest. You have to be a member, though. So you have to be a member of Run Pure Sports to be eligible. So we got that promo code RPS Heater 25. You can sign up. You got to be a member before the show starts tonight when we'll pick it on the show. And that ticket is courtesy of, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name exactly, but a member, Dynasta. So thanks to him.
Yep, he's always grinding there. I see him doing pretty well on the PGA leaderboards. I'm assuming he had a nice hit, which the members, they do well and they do win. So he probably crushed it and just giving some back. So that's awesome to see. Hoop, you also said you were on the, you're on the duty with the kids yesterday. Isn't Tuesday lawn day? Did you get the lawn taken care of with the layered rough we've seen at the US Open? We got to get a lawn update from Hoop.
Yeah, so the lawn update. I'm glad you asked because I did change up the schedule this week. I cut the grass on Monday, knowing that I had all this with the kids on Tuesday. So I'm on the 6th day. I'm on the 6-day schedule, and it needed it. We did get some rain here, a lot of sunshine, so it's growing quick. So it was ready day 6, not day 7.
There you go. Ready for day 6 and ready for that US Open with the massive layered rough that we have been seeing. Even BigT is tweeting about it, Hoop. You had to get a good laugh at that one.
Yeah, your layered rough call is finally coming into play. I mean, did you see the Ian Poulter tweet?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. So BigT, he did the tweet with that. And I was like, man, when BigT is taking notice on a Tuesday of the layered rough, we really got to start paying attention.
That shit happens every major where some golfer tweets that they're dropping their ball in the rough and it disappears. Every single major outside of the Masters, which you know what it's going to be anyway. So
yeah, or the last one was the greens, right? Remember someone dropped it on a green and it just like kept rolling, right?
Yeah. And then you turn the golf tournament on Thursday and none of that shit.
That actually is very, very true. I've said that in the past, and that is true. Like they find the worst part of the course and tweet about it, obviously.
Oh yeah, and it's like when you start watching, like their putts aren't like rolling back to them very often. Like that's like happens like to like 1 in 10 golfers once in the whole tournament on the green. So yeah,
I'm with you on that for sure.
Yeah, but that's not good content, DC, and that's what we're trying to bring too, right? We're trying to bring the good content for the people. But so that'll be interesting. BigT will be doing the Wednesday show. Hoop will be doing the Tuesday show. I'll be doing the betting show with JJ and a cast of characters. It'll be Bobby, Uncle T, Snyder will all be on it. So it'll be a lot of fun. But, we're going to talk some baseball here shortly. We got to introduce DC. I'm sure he's going to want to talk about all the spin rates in the world. But DC, how is it going over there for you on a Tuesday?
Things are good, man. No early baseball today, but I still had a nice sweat today. Mangone, we had a discussion last week. I think it was on Friday, maybe Thursday. You were saying you're going to have a good weekend. You were going to decorate your background. And I said, no, you're not. You're going to be playing DFS all weekend. And here we are. Your background still, you're still a prisoner, as JT Hayes liked to say. You're being held hostage down there. And, I'm happy to see it. You were busy grinding the DFS streets. So no time to decorate that background for you.
It's all Jake Bauer's fault, right? He didn't save the day for me, but he did hit a home run yesterday. I don't know if you saw that. You guys said he can't hit a home run, and sure, he didn't hit it on Friday, but he did hit one. So there you go. And it was the 3rd of the year. But
that's the worst victory lap than the time I was wrong about the weather on April 7th.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely owned me there. But you know what I did, DC, the next day? I got in the Discord chat. I took my L, and then I said, people said, oh, what are you doing today? I said, I'm going back to what works, right? The White Sox. And then I ended up getting the min cash season. It worked out, got some money back. So I was very happy about that. And, we got a White Sox against the lefty again today, but it's a 15 gamer and it's a good 15 gamer. And you got the Rockies hat on. And I mean, Coors is going to be amazing today, right? I mean, title is somewhere just peeling to this. I mean, the core slate, when you see the 7 total on one of the teams, it's a chalk day. It's a day that people are going to be slamming those guys in your lineups. DC, you've been playing DFS for a while, so give us a little bit of an overview. I mean, these core slates are a little different than the ones that have like the 5.5, right? I mean, the chalk, how does it not hit? It's Chichi Gonzalez. So how do you handle it in tournaments? Do you just completely fade, or do you have to get some type of exposure to it?
Man, it kind of just depends on, how many lineups you're playing and your risk tolerance. I mean, yesterday on the show with Hoop, I kind of warned, kind of later in the show that like, I made it a point to say Austin Gomber has been pitching really well, right? Like you just look at the team total and you're just like, I got to stack this team. And then Austin Gomber threw I think an 8-inning shutout or a shutout through 8 innings. But this is not the case for Chichi Gonzalez, right? Like he is not a good pitcher. Austin Gomber, I think, clearly is at this point, and I thought that coming into yesterday as well. So, I mean, the Padres sitting at a 7.1 team total, 7.1, 7.2. I don't really remember a team total this high. I did get out for a nice jog this morning here in Denver, and it's steamy out there. Let me tell you, even for the couple miles that I go. So, you got to think the Padres are going to bounce back in a big way here, but everybody thinks that, right? Everybody's trying to jam Padres in their lineup. There's just no question about it. But they're expensive. They're hard to fit. And then you throw in this pitching slate, which is pretty brutal. I mean, Trevor Rogers, the top guy on the slate, he's at 10K even on DraftKings. But he gets, in my opinion, a pretty tough matchup going into St. Louis. So I think it's one of those slates where everyone's kind of trying to survive pitching, right? You're trying to get 15 to 20 fantasy points maybe on DraftKings from your pitchers, preferably as cheap as possible, and then load up on bats. But man, it's not like Coors Field's the only good hitting environment tonight. I think we'll see a lot of runs scored, and we're seeing offense slowly tick upward. I talked about that yesterday. We saw Tyler Glasnow. We lost him, I think, probably for the season. He was off to a good start. He was saying he had to compensate because he couldn't grip the ball, and he ends up with a torn UCL. Probably going to need Tommy John. So things are changing in the MLB right now. And it's kind of a crazy landscape, to be honest. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, that it's going to change the landscape of pitching. And there's no doubt about it. So I think now more than ever, if you can get a solid score from a cheaper pitcher, it's kind of the safe route to go. I know that's not really what we've been doing most of the season, but things have been shaken up in a big way. And now baseball says they're going to start enforcing this on Monday, and any substance whatsoever. I kind of thought they were going to allow like sunscreen, which is the thing that affects it the least, but they're saying nothing. No, we're going to test the balls. Every reliever that comes in the game will be, checked by the umpire. Like it's going down for baseball. So it's really going to change things. And I think that's good generally for DFS, as long as you're on top of it.
Hoop, I don't even know what DC said, because the second that DC said, I went for a run today, that's where my mind just kept going many places.
Yeah. I went for a run, put on a nice shirt. It's a good Tuesday over here in Denver.
I have so many questions. I have so many thoughts. I mean, Hoop, is that where you kind of got derailed there? Because that's what happened to me.
That's where I got jealous, and I started feeling like shit about myself personally, because I am pretty good about going to the gym. I'll go 5 days a week. Today I did not get to the gym. DC went for a run. Like I said, I'm feeling bad about myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean,
I was trying to get the humble brag in there,
Hey, listen, I didn't know if mom kicked you out and you were running away from home. I didn't know what happened.
Running away from home.
She said I had to go out and play for 30 minutes, so I went for a run.
Yeah, it's like the NFL does the play 60 stuff, right? Or whatever that DC had to get his workout in.
Cam Newton was out there.
Yeah, I was surprised. The chat didn't get on you a little bit more for that, because that's where I kind of got lost.
Tried to slip it in there.
Yep. But Hoop, I'll ask you before we kind of dive into this pitching. Like, I mean, it's a core 7-run total, right? Like, how do you avoid Chichi Gonzalez, right? It seems like a day where, I don't know, we look at the winning lineup. How is Coors not on the winning team today?
Yeah, I mean, the argument against it is just, variance. And we kind of saw it last night. And, DC was, kind of warned people a little bit. Like, Gomber is not bad. And, he ended up being dominant last night. That six run total turned into nothing this time. I mean, they scored a couple runs at the end, but this is much different situation. Now the hope is, which won't be the case, the hope is, the Padres burned a lot of people last night, so they're not going to go back to them tonight. Maybe 6 years ago in DFS, yeah, that might be the case. Like this day and age, people are going right back to Coors.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. And I think the main reason they go back to Coors is the pitching, and the pitching just is not all that great. So what a lot of people will do today is say, hey, I'm going to get my hitters, and then I'm going to come back and just play whatever two pitchers fit. And, to be honest with you, that's probably the route I'm looking to go in cash games. I mean, there's nobody that stands out that I have to play at pitcher. I'm fine just getting my hitters and coming back to the pitcher position and hoping to survive. Like, honestly, if I'm going down cheap, like, can I get 10 to 12 from two guys? Can I get 25 total points and be out of this position? I might honestly take it today. So that's why people will be right back to Coors. Tough to avoid. The game theory argument's always there though. And, baseball is highly variant, but 95 degrees, it looks like there in Coors. Like, I think Chichi Gonzalez is going to have a hard time slowing down these Padres bats today.
The problem with Gonzalez, and I don't want to it's not really a victory lap on Gomber. I didn't play Gomber. I listed Padres as the number one stack yesterday. So it's really not that, but it was worth warning that he had been good, 5 starts in a row. So you kind of wonder, like, maybe he can get it done. I don't think really Chichi Gonzalez has much of a chance here. You look at his, strikeout rate at home this year. He's at 4 Ks per 9, an 11% strikeout rate at home. So, for sure the Padres are going to be putting the ball in play all game long against him in Coors Field in 95-degree heat. That just doesn't work, right? Eventually you break through. If it's not the first or second, you just get there eventually. And then you've got the Colorado bullpen behind it, which they're rested now, but it doesn't matter because they don't have anybody good in the bullpen to throw out there anyway. So, I had some Padres yesterday. It's probably a little bit less in the field. Today, I'm trying to get these guys in there, They just seem like they're going to go off for sure, especially after a disappointing day yesterday. So I think it's a priority play. I think that's kind of how most people are viewing it, but it's hard to get away from it.
Yeah, you all brought up great points, and I think one point that I think that was really valid was by Hoop. Like, the pitching just sucks, right? So it's like you don't have like Max Scherzer and DeGrom to be able to play them where if you play both those guys, then you can't afford those bats. Now, yes, they priced them up some, but it's just that's sometimes part of the equation that you need to take into account. Like, sometimes you look in DFS NBA, right? Like, Jokic could be in a great spot, but if there's a DeAndre Jordan and, he's the only center there, and then there's, Okongwu, who's the backup for Capella, right? If he's there and they're both extreme values, well, then you maybe don't need that spin up option. And that's some stuff in DFS that you need to take into account. And that's how it is with the pitchers here as well. You don't have those spin up pitchers that can just cancel out cores easily with some other cheaper stacks. That is the problem that I have there looking at this entire slate as a whole. But let's start talking about pitchers and let's dive into it. In DC, I believe Frankie Montas might be the guy that you look at the most. I listen to the podcast with you and G Ryzen. I'm curious to hear what you're going to be handling with. Mid-tier, at the top, lower tier. I don't think it matters. You just play the guys you like today, and then you find the bats you want to plug into your lineups.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think we'll see any pitcher get to 30 DraftKings points today. I think all 30 pitchers will be under 30 DraftKings point. Would be, I guess, that'd be a fun prop to have. Tyler Rogers leading it off. He's 10K, good pitcher for sure, but he's going to have to face, I think, 8 or 9 probably right-handed bats in St. Louis who do hit lefties well. I did dig into Rogers just to see if he had a chance here. I actually think he does. He's got a really good changeup, which obviously plays well against righties. So I don't know what Rogers' ownership will be at. Just because he's the highest priced guy in the slate, I almost kind of think some people are like, I'll get the highest priced pitcher, but maybe not today. Montas, like you mentioned, Mangone, I think is a really good play at 8,500. I do also like, Ohtani and Walsh in that game too. So he's not by no means a perfect play, but he's been better. He missed most of spring training. I think he tested positive for COVID, wasn't really able to go. Had kind of a slow start to the year, but he's been ramping it up slowly. He looks good to me. So I think Montas probably at the top, my preference. Urias is fine for the Dodgers. I'm not playing Yu Darvish in Colorado. He did pitch there once this year already. Had by far his lowest swinging strike rate of the year in that start in Coors Field. And now it's like the ultimate hitting conditions basically in Coors tonight. So I can't pay 9,400 for Darvish. I've heard some talk in the Discord about him, but not for me. Mike Minor, I think people are going to play him some people at least are going to play him at 9,200. I get it's Detroit, but man, Mike Minor, nothing special to me, and I just, on this slate where there's so many good bats, I can't go to Mike Minor. So yeah, I think Rogers and Montas, if I'm spending up, and by no means am I spending up on every team, those are the two guys that I'm looking at the top end.
Good, but I've seen this too many times in chat, so it needs to be addressed. Chi-Chi has no home runs allowed at home this year. Something to note. I mean, if anything, I think variance is about to hit him in the face, right? I mean, it's just like Chi-Chi Gonzalez. If I could bet the over on 0.5 home runs, I would happily bet the over there. And if I lose, I'd be okay with it.
Just take a step back and realize what you're arguing. This guy, he can't strike anybody out. And he's just choosing not to, right? He's like, oh, I'm the one that can give up, hard hit fly balls in Coors Field, and they're all going to be caught at the warning track. That's basically what the argument is. It's just,
and the other thing is a majority of his starts this year have come on the road. He's only pitched at home 3 times this year. Pulling it up.
I bet were those early games because it was super cold here in April and then even the early part of May.
Yeah. So I mean, the one he had to start against Oakland June 4th. He had to start against Cincinnati on May 13th.
I bet that was cold.
Yeah, and then April 17th against
I'm sure that was
Mets.
cold. Yep.
The Mets freaking suck. So I mean, he hasn't pitched in Coors at 95 degrees. That's just that's grasping at straws. And the start against Oakland, he still gave up 3. It's not like he's going out there and shutting teams down. He's giving up earned runs too. So, I mean,
not that they're not that any team's guaranteed to go off in any situation, and that applies to the Padres here. But you can trust the team total here. That Padres 7.1 team total, in my opinion, it's fully warranted, right? I think they deserve every bit of that. Doesn't mean they can't bust or that you can't pick the wrong Padres or whatever, but just because Chi-Chi hasn't been hit hard in 3 Coors starts, 2 of which were most likely in the cold, I wouldn't really put much stock into that whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. And again, for instance, Jay Crowder, I played him in NBA and he shot 1 for 18 for the first 3 series. I said, he'll make threes at some point, right? Just like Chi-Chi Gonzalez, home runs are coming, right? And when are they coming? They're coming in the spots when it's 90 degrees, right? I mean, it's the Padres. This isn't a joke of an offense. It's sort of understandable. And also you make some points. I don't know if he was using the sticky substance, right? Maybe now he's not, who knows? I don't know. But overall, Vegas is pretty much always right. And I'm going to go with Vegas. The 7 implied run total is warranted. If you don't think Chi-Chi Gonzalez is giving up home runs, if I were you, I'd be running to a book. I'd be flying in a plane to go and bet the under then on the Padres total, if that's what you believe. But let's talk about some of these pitchers. Let's talk about Mize, right? Mize is a guy that it felt like a lot of people in DFS streets have been like, oh, Casey Mize is good. And no one's really jumping to roster him today. DC, what's your thoughts on Mize here?
Yeah, I like him quite a bit. It seems like he's always pitching whenever Hoop and I have a show for his last 3 or 4 starts, and he's been good. I don't think Casey Mize is an ace or anywhere or even a second tier guy, but he's a solid pitcher. He's got a very diverse, deep arsenal, 5-6 pitches he can throw. I don't think he has a ton of upside in this matchup, but. And I know it's good hitting weather in Kansas City, but it's still a big park. I think Mize is going to give you close to 100 pitches here. You can't. I don't think you're hoping for 30 DraftKings points, but I think he's got a good shot at 15. 15, 20. I think he'll throw strikes here. I think he'll be all right. 7.1K. Yeah, for me, he's kind of near the top of the list. I would way rather play him than Mike Minor, save the 2,100 on DraftKings. I'm pretty sure Mize is the better pitcher overall. Maybe Minor has a little bit better matchup, but Detroit's been coming around a little bit. They had a big night last night, obviously. So, yeah, Mize in that mid-tier, I think, certainly on my short list tonight.
Oop, I want to go over to you because DC doesn't love Mike Minor today, but I think you have more interest in Mike Minor in this spot. And I'm someone that I like to attack some strikeouts, right? Especially when I go a pitcher. I even see you put Corbin on the cash chart, which is scary. I get it, but pitcher stinks. And I did it the other day. And I even played him in tournaments. And sometimes those strikeouts just win out, right? Even though you let up 4 runs, those strikeouts can get you a long way. If you can just find a guy that'll get you, 5 to 7 Ks, I might just take that and move on if they can find a way to get to like 14 or 15 on this slate, especially at a 7K price tag. So what are you doing with some of these guys? It seems like you're doing what I like to do, is attack those strikeouts.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know me. I mean, doing these shows, to me, I usually just play the best pitchers and move on and find a way to make it work. I've talked about it all year on these shows. Today's the day where you run into a problem with that strategy because we don't really have the best pitchers to go ahead and play. I have a little more interest in Minor. I mean, he's been pitching well. I do like picking on the Tigers, but they have been hitting the ball a little bit better. But Minor, the K prop at 6.5 juice on the over. So I do like him a little bit more. I'm good with Montas. Luis Castillo is a guy that's kind of been turning the corner a little bit. He's kind of flashed, some solid starts back to back, 23 fantasy points, 17, 5 strikeouts, 7 strikeouts. Not a comfortable roster, but I think he's a guy that's in the conversation a little bit. Mize, Corbin. I mean, the mindset with Corbin is he's a pretty sizable home favorite. I mean, basically minus 180 here at home against the Pirates. I mean, the Pirates lineup does look a little more improved, but I mean, this is one of those scenarios I'm hoping he survives 5 or 6 innings, gets me 5 or 6 strikeouts, and maybe picks up the win. I think he's capable of doing that tonight, although he hasn't done it at all recently. Come down a little bit more. This Arizona guy is 3.9K, Alex Young. He's starting. We were talking about a pre-show. We all kind of thought the floor at pitcher was 4K. He's 3.9K. And is he going to go deep into this game? No, not at all. I mean, DC probably knows a little bit more about the situation than me, but I'm assuming the most he probably goes is like 4 innings. Can he survive those 4 innings, pick up a few strikeouts, and give me 12 fantasy points here tonight? I think it's possible. So if I can get every hitter I want, I'm fine going all the way down to 3.9K, and I guess essentially punting the position. And then that's kind of we really don't talk about that all that much at the pitcher position, but 3.9K, I mean, he's basically $2,000 cheaper than any other starting pitcher tonight. The floor is very, very low. Obviously, the ceiling is non-existent. You're hoping for probably like 10 to 12 fantasy points, which you gladly
You love those
take.
low floor, low ceiling pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, those are the guys who want to target in DFS, right? The low floor, low ceiling guys. But 3.9K, can I survive? I mean, even if he does get you 6 fantasy points, you're not dead because you're going to get access to all the Coors bets you want and other elite offenses as well. So I do have some interest in him at 3.9K, but I mean, honestly, by far, it's just not a comfortable position tonight. And it's typically not the case. We can find some guys to lock in on most nights. 15 game slate, and there's really nobody I feel great about at the position.
Well, this is Hoop. You're pretty good at this. I feel like you're good at knowing that some slates, it just, instead of using up your salary, just use it in other spots, right? Like just spend all the way down to the basement. And sure, if like you run into like a good game, you're happy, but it might not kill you because you're betting against all the other pitchers not being that great, especially in cash games, which it's a little bit different, but I think you can get away with it in tournaments as well. DC, Hoop thinks that you got some takes on Alex Young that might be able to help us out. So is he going 4 innings? Is he going 1 inning? Do you have any info?
I will say it's probably, I mean, it is kind of weird with this situation. It's probably more of a cash play than a tournament play because you're not going to get, you need more probably in tournaments. In cash games, if you can get 7 from this guy and you get all the hitters that go off, you're going to be good. So I'd say probably more, which is weird to say, more cash than tournament.
I agree with that, Hoop. That's a really good point because I think if you're playing Alex Young in a tournament, you're playing him to get all the Padres in, right? So like everybody's going to kind of do that same thing. That's the reason to play Alex Young. So you can stack the Padres. Do you really want to have that same exact build as literally thousands of other teams, in the big GPPs? Probably not. I think you can get, I'm guessing 70 to 80 pitches out of Alex Young in a best case scenario, right? If he's pitching well. It's not like Arizona has some great bullpen that they can turn it over to. I mean, I think if he's rolling, which I don't think is likely, but of course it's possible. It's one baseball game. You can get through. I think you could get through 5 innings, kind of best case scenario. I wouldn't necessarily predict that, but last pitch on June 8th through 57 pitches. He has been a starter most of his career. So yeah, I think 70 plus if he's pitching well. We'll see. I mean, it's not like San Francisco's been some cakewalk. We've seen a lot of pitchers kind of go in there. You think it's a great pitcher's park, and San Francisco does some damage. So, I think Alex Young is fine, though, at 3,900 if you want to go all the way down. Hoop mentioned Luis Castillo. He's my SP1 today. I know it's been a rough ride for Luis Castillo this year, but is starting to turn it around. And I do just think he just had some shitty luck. He's had some horrible defense behind him. They moved Eugenio Suarez to shortstop. He's pitching some cold weather, which he doesn't typically do well in. He looks like pretty much the same guy he's been over the last couple of years. I mean, he's still averaging. He was up to 98 miles per hour averaging in his last start. And that's not even his best pitch, right? His best pitch is a changeup. He's got a slider. Like, he has all the pitches that made him, a legit ace in the last couple of years. I mean, you look at this Milwaukee lineup, like their best hitter it seems like a greatly hampered Christian Yelich. I think Luis Castillo is kind of the one guy. I guess I would maybe throw Trevor Rogers in that, where I think Luis Castillo could strike out 12 or 13 Brewers. It's not a prediction. I think he's capable of it. So I like Luis Castillo at 8,000 a lot. He'll be in my core plays and in my main lineups. And then the other guy is Sammy Long for the San Francisco Giants, making his second career big league outing. Going to be in long relief. He's 6,200. He looked fantastic in his debut in a similar role against Texas last time out. That was back on June 9th. 7 strikeouts over 4 innings, 69 pitches thrown. Thing about Long was he was doing the exact same thing in the minor leagues, was basically leading all of the minor leagues in strikeout rate before that start, comes up against Texas, does the exact same thing. So basically every sample that we have of Long pitching in baseball this year is him just striking out a ton of batters. He's got this kind of over the top curveball, a true 12-6 curveball that it seems like the hitters, they can't tell if it's a strike or not. It's one of those, it's kind of like it's in the zone the whole way, and they don't know if it's going to be below the zone or in the zone. So they end up taking a lot of strikes and swinging over the top of balls that end up in the dirt. And I think, none of these Arizona guys have ever seen him before. I think he will get going here. You also have a great chance at a win as a long reliever, because the guy who starts the game, which will be Zach Littell tonight, he cannot get the win by rule. So if if San Francisco wins this game and Long gives you 3 or 4 innings, even if he's not, then the official scorer basically has to assign the win if it doesn't happen later in the game. So that's obviously not a huge deal, but when you're 6,200, 4 extra fantasy points kind of goes a long way, right? In terms of like the point per dollar ranking. So for me, Sammy Long and Luis Castillo, the combo that I like the best. Again, you don't feel super confident about it, but I think both guys are going to pitch well tonight. So those are the 2 guys I'm most likely to roll with.
The Arizona team total is like minuscule too. I mean, the Arizona team total is barely above 3. That those are numbers typically assigned to teams going against like premier aces in the league. I mean, that 3 team total is really, really low.
Hoop, I want to go back to you. So as someone who's been playing DFS for a while, you've flushed your entries down the toilet. So have I. I mean, there's days where it's happened and you just kind of like, crap, whatever. Kevin says, I'd rather flush my entries down the toilet than roster Luis Castillo. So if I told you, you're rostering Luis Castillo,
then don't roster him.
Do you think that you're flushing your entries down the toilet? We know the upside he can have, and he has strikeout ability, and it's a bad slate. I don't think it's the worst time to roster Luis Castillo.
I mean, it was one of the first guys I mentioned, and I'm glad DC said it's his favorite guy on the slate, because he was honestly the first guy that I kind of looked at, but really I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to go there tonight. I'm glad, DC kind of likes him. I pulled up the K prop. It's strong. I mean, he's sitting at a 6.5 number. Juice kind of leaning on the under, but still 6.5.
I would take the over on that.
Yeah, and even if he gets 6, I'd be happy on this slate. If he goes out and pitches 6 innings, gets 6 strikeouts on this slate, That's going to be a dandy. So, yeah, I'm glad DC is on Castillo. And in terms of the guy in the chat that said he'd rather flush his money down the toilet, I got a good solution. Now, you got to listen closely. Don't roster Luis Castillo, and then you don't have to flush your money down the toilet, right? It's very easy.
I don't get the people that are like, oh, I can't roster him. He was bad last. It's like, okay, then don't. It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And Turn Up Tot says that I flushed my entries down the toilet when I decided to roster against Seattle. Listen, Big T was on my side, so that helped me justify it. When the dude who won $1 million was like still kind of on board, I felt okay with it. But yeah, it is what it is. But I do want to mention, we also have Rachel Jordan in the chat. Has a question, DC. We got to talk about this. DC dressing up today. You love to see it. Do you have a date tonight, DC?
No date. I was just feeling a little spry after my jog through the neighborhood, and wanted to clean it up a little bit. So brought the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 into the shower, put on a nice shirt, and ready to talk some ball.
There you go. You'll love to see it. I don't know if she's implying she wants
to be so proud.
Yeah, I don't know if she wants a date tonight, but hey, I'm just saying there's a chatter out there that's wondering if it's date night for good old DC. Don't know if we can get the pizza bagels out, right, and get a nice little spread down there as you watch the games. We get Nets Bucks tonight. We get a 15-game baseball slate. Can dress up and have some pizza bagels in Mom's basement. But
I see Uncle T's in the chat. I mean, the real question today is Uncle T showing up for the PGA show, or is he once again for like the 5th consecutive major going to ditch us for Big T and JSU? That's what I'm curious to know.
Oh, he's ditching. He's hanging with JSU and Big T.
Yeah,
no
our
doubt.
Boy Snyder, our boy Snyder, a true loyal fan of the Tuesday show, will be there.
Yep, I'll be hanging too with Snyder and Uncle T on the bet side at 10 o'clock after you guys are done. So we'll be sure to give Uncle T some crap there. But he's hanging in the chat, and he's having a good time with us. But let's give our final thoughts on pitchers here. DC, I'll go to you. Again, not a great pitcher slate, but give me your top 3 to 5 guys.
Yeah, Castillo, number 1 for me. Castillo, Sammy Long is my kind of number 1 preferred combo. Other guys that I'll be mixing in there in my 20 lineups include Trevor Rogers, Frankie Montas. We haven't talked about either of these guys yet. Shane McClanahan for the Tampa Bay Rays. He's got incredible stuff. Probably only going to get 70 to 80 pitches out of him, but he's got big strikeout upside against your White Sox. White Sox against a lefty. Maybe you'll disagree with me on this one, Mangone, but Shane McClanahan I think has upside. And then is it Tyler or Trevor? Tucker. I get those T's mixed up. Tucker Davidson for the Braves. It's a scary matchup a little bit against Boston. But if you look at Boston's numbers versus lefties on the road, they are 20% below league average as an offense. They lose their DH here. And they've got, an above average strikeout rate as well. They just haven't been hitting lefties, especially when they've been on the road. Tough spot to pitch, right? I mean, it's 85 degrees in Atlanta. You got wind blowing out. I get why it's scary, but I do think Tucker Davidson is going to be someone who outperforms kind of his underlying metrics going forward. And I think he'll be pretty low owned. I don't really think people want to roster a rookie pitcher against Boston here. I've been kind of impressed with what I've seen. So Tucker Davidson, 7,400, I'll have some exposure there as well.
All right. I think my favorite guy is Montas. That's the guy that I'm leaning on right now. I think I'm going to play more FanDuel today too. So I think that's the guy I'm just going to lock myself into. Hoop, I'll go over to you. Give me your breakdown here at the pitcher position. Give me some of the guys you're liking before we move on.
At pitcher, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's honestly a position I'm coming to last to fill out. I mean, the guys I do like Minor. I'm still going to be on Minor if I can get there at 9-2. I might not be able to get there, and if I can't, that's fine. I do like the Montas call. Castillo, I do kind of like a little bit. Patrick Corbin, more of a survive and advance type play. DC kind of sold me on Sammy Long. A team total too. Arizona's only sitting right around 3 for their team total. That's low. So, Vegas expects these Giants pitchers to have some success. Big strikeout guy. So I'm kind of sold on Sammy Long. And then Alex Young, I said, 3.9K. If I can get every bat I want and all I have to do is play Alex Young, count me in. So those are 4 of the 5 guys. I mean, not a comfortable position whatsoever, though.
Yeah, I would love to talk about every single pitcher, but we can't. Guys are asking questions like Urias, Heaney. If you want to get takes from us on that, just get in the Discord chat, right? Use that code RPS Heater 25 to get 25% off. And, get in the Discord and ask us those questions there. We can't talk about every single guy. It's really tough to, go through that. We got to talk about some of these hitters here. Before we do that, though, I want to talk about the members that never win. Obviously, the members are crushing it. We saw Dynasty's giving away that ticket, so he wins. But I want to pull up now one of the Showdown winners from yesterday. DGAS33 ended up winning, chopped with a bunch of people, but had a nice team in the Showdown contest. And then talked about him last week. Again, Alter Bridge, another nice win in the MLB Grand Slam, getting second place, winning $6,000. Things that you really love to see, Hoop. Obviously you like to see the Showdown stuff. The content's been great. And baseball, I don't know if you've seen this, but Alter Bridge, he keeps winning every single week.
Yeah. Yeah, he's had a phenomenal MLB DFS season. So shout out to him for sure. And like I was saying, if you want to be a part of this this section here, we shout out the winners. Just tag us on Twitter with a screenshot of your win, and we'll shout you out here. So keep the winners going, keep running pure, and we will keep giving you guys the accolades that you deserve.
Yeah, and as Hoop loves to say, hashtag join the movement, right? We want to have you on our team. And we're trying to create a really great community. And that's why we're giving away that ticket tonight here again in the PGA. We have guys giving back from the community. We give back at times. So definitely be sure to sign up now so you can get a chance to win that. And check that out at the 8:30 show. That's it, though. Let's move on to the catcher position and talk about it. And catcher, it's typically a spot that, it's not the best. Sometimes we got some good hitters in spots. But today, it might be the Victor Caratini show in those cash games against Chichi Gonzalez. Hoop, I'll go to you. It seems like Caratini is a great way to save some salary. How are you approaching the catcher position?
Yeah, they didn't give him a massive bump. Still coming in at 3.4K. Almost had the home run. It was literally like maybe less than an inch away from a home run. He got the double. Today, 3.4K. It's a cheap way to get exposure to the Padres lineup. He'll be the most popular at the position, but kind of tough to avoid. The position is not great. If you want a full punt, I keep playing this Riley Adams guy, and he keeps getting like zeros, but he's only 2K. So I guess you could. Well, you can't do worse, but it helps your lineups when you play him. Jacob Stallings batting fourth, 3.7K against Patrick Corbin. I don't hate him, but really for me, it's going to be pretty simple with Caratini. If you don't want to do that, full punting's fine. And then, maybe Jacob Stallings, but, we don't have all the lineups out yet. One other guy, Austin Hedges. I like the Indians tonight. Austin Hedges, he's batting ninth. He's only 2.5K. So actually, I'd probably prefer him a little bit more than the Riley Adams asshole who keeps getting me zeros.
Yeah, and he gets to go up against Matt Harvey. So who doesn't like targeting Matt Harvey? I definitely do. DC, I will go over to you. Catcher position, you spending up, you spending down here. What are you doing?
Yeah, Caratini is obviously kind of the best point per dollar play. I don't think it's really up for debate on the slate. He's a decent hitter, and he's in on a team with a team total of 7.1, and he's 3,400. So Caratini, the guy, he's going to be super popular for good reason. Tyler Stevenson back in that 4 hole. I've been on the Reds a lot lately, and they've been pretty fantastic. So yeah, Stevenson at 4,400 against Brett Anderson. I really like him, but I do like the Reds much better as a stack because they do have their kind of wanted big three bullpen ready to go. So you need to get, if you're on the Reds, if they don't get a lead in this game and kind of keep those guys on the sidelines, it's going to be rough these last 3 or 4 innings for them. So, but yes, Tyler Stevenson, I think is a strong play. Will Smith, I think is a good play. Homered yesterday. I like him better against righties in general. Assuming he's in there, Eric Haas for the Detroit Tigers, been hitting the ball really hard. Looks like he's kind of almost like a prototypical lefty crusher, right? Where he's just kind of waiting for lefty fastballs, pull him over the left field wall. Mike Minor, decent pitcher, but that's a good matchup for a hitter like that. Minor does come in with a lot of fastballs, and I think Haas has a good chance to go yard. And then Tom Murphy for the Seattle Mariners. I like the Mariners a lot against JSURab. People that have watched my shows or listen to my podcast know I'm pretty much always stacking against JSURab, and I know the Mariners don't have the best lineup in the world, but that's not going to slow me down. So Tom Murphy, 3,700. He's got big power. from the right side and couldn't get a much better matchup. So he'd be the kind of the last guy I would consider there.
All right, we got Juniari 22 said, been a sub for 2 weeks. Best decision I've ever made. Discord engagement from all the RPS guys on all the slates is worth it alone. Definitely things you love to see. I played some soccer today, and I hit up Rubio and Jaime with a couple of questions. That's what we give you here over at Run Pure Sports. So use that code RPS Heater 25 or the Euro 25 code. Get you 25% off your first payment. So get in on that. We love having you here, and we love trying to do our best to help you guys out and create a great community of just everyone trying to do their best to make us all better DFS players. That'll wrap it up though there. Let's hit that like and subscribe though, guys. Again, that helps us out a ton, and we'll move on over to the first base position. And at the top, again, first base is always a spot that I want to spend my money at, but you can have some cheap guys you can go with as well. I mean, you could go with a Phillip Evans if you want against a guy like Corbin, who could hit him out the park, but there is some downside there. There's a Carlos Santana against Mize. I wouldn't mind going to him, but I don't know. First base is the best spot to allocate your salary today at the top. I feel like it might be a better spot to save because there's guys like Machado and Fernando Tatis that I know people are going to want to jam throughout their lineup. So Hoop, I'll go over to you first. Is first base position you want to spend a lot of salary at?
Yeah, not a great position. I mean, on most positions we talk about today, we'll have some solid options. First base, surprisingly, does not have a ton of guys that I'm all that interested in. One guy that does stand out, and we talked about him on yesterday's show quite a bit, Bobby Bradley for the Indians. I'm on the Indians today. Bobby Bradley, moderate price tag, $4K against Matt Harvey, which is an ideal matchup. So I like him. If you want to punt, Miguel Cabrera's 2.8K. I mean, the upside's not there like we saw in the past with Miguel Cabrera, but 2.8K. Bobby Dahlback, who's batting 8th, 2K flat. Eric Hosmer, obviously, for the Padres, 5.4K. I think he's in play. I don't mind Carlos Santana, like you said, 4.8K. You can play Cronenworth, 5.6K. There's just not a lot for me at this position. Like I said, as it stands, my favorite's probably Bobby Bradley at 4K.
All right. DC, any thoughts on the Bobby Bradley call? Like the Indians, I like them today, but I do want to talk about them a little bit. Do you worry about the weather much? Like the wind is blowing in 20 miles an hour and it's a little bit cooler. Is that something that could take you off of those guys, or it's just Matt Harvey and he'll get destroyed no matter what?
Yeah, I'm worried about those guys. So Bobby Bradley does have some serious power. He would be able to hit one through that wind for sure. But the rest of this team, I mean, I know Jose Ramirez, he barrels it up a lot, but he's not a guy that hits like light tower power home runs. So I am concerned about that against Matt Harvey, because that's kind of what you're rostering against him for, right? Those home runs is the big target. It's not like he's walking a lot of dudes or anything like that. I don't know. I could kind of see Matt Harvey. He's going to give up, some decently hard contacts, some fly balls, but could be tough in Cleveland, less than 70 degrees and that wind just howling straight in from center field. I am concerned about that a little bit. So I think that's a good call. It's kind of got me off of Cleveland a little bit. And people love stacking against Matt Harvey, right? It's been a DFS thing for what? I don't know, like 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. So yeah, I'm kind of cooling on Cleveland a little bit. As far as the rest of first base goes, I think Eric Hosmer is going to be super popular at 5,400. I mean, I get it, right? It's the Padres and Coors, but Eric Hosmer is hitting 255 with 5 home runs. Vladimir Guerrero, who is $300 more, is hitting 346 with 22 home runs. Like, the difference in talent between these two guys is just enormous. And it's not like Guerrero's in a bad hitting spot, right? He's in a minor league park that has short dimensions in Buffalo, where Blue Jays play in their home games now. It's 70 degrees, 13-mile-per-hour winds out to left center field. So give me Vlad over Hosmer, frankly, pretty easily. And I think Hosmer will be more owned than Vlad Guerrero, which is absurd to me, honestly. I get people chasing Coors Field, but man, I'll take the way, 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 way better hitter over the better hitting environment. So that's an easy call for me. So no Eric Hosmer. There are pivots at first base that you can go to. I'll go to some other Padres and skip him. Put in Vlad Guerrero, right? Even if Hosmer has a good game, Vlad can easily best him by a number of fantasy points. So that seems like a relatively easy tournament pivot, and I would even say cash game pivot. I would way rather play Guerrero over Hosmer even in a cash game.
I'll counter you with Eric Hosmer's due, DC. That's what the guys say, right? He's due now.
He's been due for like 12 years.
He's been due for a while, for sure. I'm totally
also
kidding.
The dude that hits like the most ground balls of anybody. I mean, that's not gonna do much good. And I don't care how hot it is. You know, you hit a ground ball, it doesn't matter. It's
here's another interesting question when it comes to a guy like Hosmer. Do you feel sometimes you feel like you're wasting your spot, right, with Eric Hosmer of the Padres? Like, that's one Padre I basically
if you have a full Padre stack, okay, fine, Hosmer's all right. But if you don't play Hosmer with like by himself or with 2 or 3 Padres, it's got to be a full stack for me if you're playing him.
Would you agree with that one, Hoop?
I do agree with that. If you're playing him, you know, make it as part of the stack.
Yes,
don't particularly
preferably with guys like on each side of him, right? So he can drive in runs and then score runs. Because he's just not that likely to hit a home run. He just doesn't hit very many home runs.
All right, well, let's move on over to the second base position.
Wait, Mangone, I want your take. Vlad or Hosmer?
Oh, I like the Hosmer idea way better.
I knew you would like Hosmer.
I definitely. I will say if you are playing a Padres stack, I agree with everything you say. Like, I think I played Hosmer not too long ago when I stacked the Padres. So I was just like, no one's gonna play him, and he's like 2%. It was just like a totally different build. I think everyone was paying down at first base, and it was like a 5-game slate, right? Like, that was the reason to get on Hosmer in that spot, right? And it was a fine way to go. But yes, I agree. Like, when Vladimir Guerrero is staring at you for only 200 more. Just play Vlad when it's already kind of different.
Who do you think will be higher owned?
I mean, Hosmer, because people just, they slam.
Hosmer for sure.
Yeah,
I agree.
They slam Coors. It's just.
But doesn't that seem a little absurd to you when you like take a step back for a second?
Oh, 100%. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's a good point. We got probably the hottest hitter in baseball. Best hitter in baseball.
The best hitter in baseball, yes.
Best hitter in baseball, yeah. I mean, it's
he's got a lefty and in a good spot too. You know, I don't.
The only reason to consider Hosmer is if you want like a 3% guy that's within your stack that, you know, makes it different. That's it.
You think Hosmer's going to be 3% owned?
I said if. It's not. That's what I'm saying.
I got you.
Yeah, like that's the only way. Like, you don't want to be playing 15% one. That doesn't sound fun at all, for sure.
Yeah.
That's one of the guys that can sink you for sure on a Padre stack, no doubt. So, but let's move on over to second base. Second base, we got Dylan Moore, who seems like he's dirt cheap and in a really good spot, Hoop. I mean, I know we talked about some of these guys in the Mariners. They're just dirt cheap for a reason, but it is a day that you want to jam in some guys, right? And second base is not a position you're really looking to spend a ton of money on. Like, sure, you have Brian McMahon, who's expensive, but he is going against Yu Darvish. I think Dylan Moore is an interesting punt in cash games. How about you, Hoop?
Yeah, I mean, the position's not great. And really, I mean, you don't have guys to spend up. I mean, the guy that I feel most comfortable probably spending up on would be Marcus Semien. Kind of like the Blue Jays here a little bit. I don't think many people will be on them. They disappointed last night after scoring 18 on Sunday. I think they have a chance to bounce back, and I think their lineup's better suited against left-handed pitching opposed to right-handed pitching. So, Semien would probably be the guy I'd look at if I'm going to spend up. But outside of that, we really don't have spend-up options. So I'm fine going down to a guy like Dylan Moore, a couple other names that I have interest in. Josh Harrison batting 5th, 3.7K. Gene Segura, probably at the top of the order, 1st or 2nd. Not the greatest matchup with your eyes, but 3.4K. It's a very good price tag for him, Dylan Moore. And then Ozzie Albies, 3.9K. That's also a very good price tag on him. So I'm more likely than not going to be saving a little bit of money. I mean, I'm definitely going to be under 4K here at the position. I think there's 4 or 5 guys that you can look to. We might get more. I mean, we only have about half the lineups out at this point. We might get a nice value. If something pops up as a very, very solid value, cheap guy towards the top of the order, I'd probably just go that route. As it stands right now, there's 4 or 5 guys that I'm okay with playing.
Yeah, DC, this slate feels like the kind of slate where, like, back when you were in middle school, right? Mom would give you some extra cash when you go on a school trip and you can spend all the money in the store that you're on or whatever. But I know I'm not spending my money on Cesar Hernandez at 4.9, right? Like, I don't want to spend 4.9K on him. I still think we get a cheap price tag on Dylan Moore. I want to spend some money on the good stuff, right? I want to spend it on Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado. Don't spend it on Cesar Hernandez at 4.9, DC, right?
I wouldn't. And I thought I was going to have kind of a hot take on Dylan Moore. He was maybe going to be my play of the day. He won't be anymore because you led with Dylan Moore. You said his name before I could, so he's off the table for me.
That was a bold move. The Dylan Moore leadoff call.
I totally agree with it.
I was not expecting that from Mangone.
I just didn't expect it from Mangone. It's got me off my game a little bit. I got to cross him off my list here. But yeah, Dylan Moore, he's the play for me. I mean, 2,600. He's much better than I think people realize. You look at the stats this year, hitting under 200, stuff like that doesn't look great. But if you look at what he did in 2020, I mean, he was on like a 30-30 pace, 30 home runs, 30 steals, that type of hitter, smashes the ball, kind of doing the same thing, right? High strikeout rate, but you get JSURab, who can't strike out a right-handed hitter for the life of him. Moore's got a lot of power. He's got speed as well. 2,600, you can play him at second or in the outfield. He's a staple for me. He will be in my core plays up on the site for sure. So yeah, Dylan Moore, I think he's the best second baseman by, frankly, a decent margin. The other guy I'm looking at is Ozzie Albies. I think the Braves are going to go very low owned tonight. They kind of go against a name brand pitcher in Eduardo Rodriguez, but Eduardo Rodriguez has been hit really hard. Now he's got to go, into Truist Park in Atlanta, where it's hot, it's humid, the wind's blowing out. And Albies 3,900 against a lefty. If you look at kind of last 2-3 years of data, hitters against lefties, Ozzie Albies right near the top. The guys surrounding him are guys like Mike Trout and JD Martinez and these types of guys. So yeah, Ozzie Albies 3,900. If I'm spending a little bit, he would be the guy. But pretty much at second base, Moore and Albies, the two guys that I'm focusing in on. If you're stacking the Padres, of course, Jake Cronenworth would be fine, but I don't know, 5,600 for him when I can get Albies for 3,900 or a 3K savings to Dylan Moore. I'll probably take the savings there.
Yeah, definitely. DC, let's go on over and talk about the third base position. And I'll go right back to you. I mean, Manny Machado's at the top, Jose Ramirez. It seems like everything is getting consolidated to those two guys. In tournaments, you could easily get different and just pay down at the position. Now, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, but if you're trying to get different within your builds, that's definitely a route that you can take. But clearly, I think most of the ownership is going to gravitate towards those guys. Do you recommend just slamming one of those two in your lineups, or are you looking to go elsewhere?
I think they're fine. Machado has not been great this year. It just hasn't been great for most of the guys. I haven't rostered Machado hardly at all. Obviously a fine play in Coors Field if you're stacking up the Padres or something like that. I don't think I would play him as a one-off tonight. Jose Ramirez, I am a little bit worried about that wind in Baltimore, probably enough to get me away from playing 6K, right? Like if my choices are 6K for Jose Ramirez against Harvey or, getting Fernando Tatis at shortstop, I'm leaning Tatis there for sure. So I don't think I'll end up with much Jose Ramirez. I will go back to my play of the day yesterday. Let me down. Brian Hayes only had that single in the first inning. Gets another bad lefty, and this guy's going to hit. There's just no question in my mind. 4,600 against Patrick Corbin. I actually think we could see some ownership on Corbin. Pretty big favorite, and the Pirates have one of the lower team totals on the board. So, yeah, give me some Brian Hayes, maybe a little bit of leverage there as well. And then the other guy I'm looking at is Kyle Seager, who does hit lefties pretty well, gets JSURab. Again, I like Seattle a lot. Seager 3,400 and does have 3 home runs off of Happ in 16 career plate appearances. Something there, right? I'll take a little bit of account of that obviously he's capable of squaring one up against JSURab. I think you'll get almost no ownership on Kyle Seager tonight.
Yeah, how are you handling the third base position? I mean, you could go Nolan Arenado against the lefty. I know it's a good lefty, but that would be different. But I really think everyone's playing Machado and Ramirez, and I think in cash games, that's really where you should be living.
Most ownership will come from Machado here at this position, obviously, and then we're going to talk about the short.
Everybody wants Machado here, right?
Yeah, I mean, massive. They'll be massively owned. I honestly don't think Jose Ramirez will have all that much ownership because of people just going to Coors.
With the $400 savings, yeah.
Yeah, and you're saving $400. Like Machado's the clear chalk, and then we're going to get to shortstop, and then the clear chalk is going to be Tatis. So there's no surprise third base and shortstop. If you want to get different, I think playing anyone outside of those guys will get you different tonight. I don't think anyone's going to carry high ownership. Another guy, I like Austin Riley batting fourth. That team total for the Braves has shot up a little bit. I think it's right around 5 now. Brian Hayes, I don't hate. I know DC mentioned him. I said I had some interest in Corbin. Don't mind, going to a guy like Hayes here. There's not a ton. Yeah. I mean, Calvin Gutierrez against Mize, he's 2.6K if you fully want to punt off the position. To me, obviously, Coors is a priority here, though.
Yeah, Hoop, I mean, you talk about Tatis. Let's go right to shortstop, right? Just may as well knock it out. I mean, you're obviously playing Tatis. Are there any other guys you're considering? I mean, you're going in a Med Rosario at 3.9, or even a Trey Turner as a pivot at 5.5.
Who was the guy yesterday, DC, that I made the case for it? Sure, I think he did well actually too. Was the Tigers dude, right?
Will Castro?
We talked about Tatis.
I think you had the wrong Castro, or maybe they both went off. But I played the other Castro, the guy hitting 9th.
Yeah. Well, whatever dude it was actually had a good game. I can't remember.
The Tigers are so confusing. I swear the Tigers have like 9 switch hitters who can all play any position.
It was it was Castro. I got to hit his first at bat, but that was a hit and run, and it ended up beating Tatis because Tatis. But today, I mean, it's clear. I mean, you can eat with the pitching position. It's easy to get Tatis. I mean, you think great chance to bounce back. I mean, if you want to save a lot of money at the position, another Pirates guy that's in play here. I mean, 2.1K, Kevin Newman batting leadoff against Corbin. So it gets you all the way down there. Some other names that kind of stand out. Lindor's 4K flat. I don't hate him. Trevor Story doesn't look right, by the way. I was watching that game. He's still messed up with in the field specifically. He can't throw right now. Like I
mentioned that yesterday, where I was just kind of concerned about himself.
Yeah, he can't. He can get nothing. Gavin Lux, if he continues to get that good batting order spot second, have little interest in him. But obviously the premier play here is Fernando Tatis.
All right, DC, I'll go over to you. We know Tatis is the premier play. Definitely agree. I assume on the cash chart, Hoop will have him in that nice little green lettering. That'll be one of the core plays, I assume, from Hoop. And if it's not, I just gave you one basically because you should be playing him in your cash games. And if you're not, you are crazy. DC, I'll go over to you though. What are you doing at the shortstop position?
Yeah, obviously Tatis if you can afford him. Hoop mentioned a bunch of the guys that I was kind of looking at. I do think the Rockies deserve. We haven't, I'm not particularly in love with Trevor Story, but in terms of a stack, I actually think the Rockies have a chance to do some damage against Yu Darvish tonight for a number of reasons. I mentioned Yu Darvish. He has pitched once at Coors Field. It was his lowest swinging strike rate of the year. So it makes sense because Darvish is a guy who throws like 70% breaking balls. They don't move the same in Coors Field, right? He rarely throws the fastball. That's like the one pitch that can play up there a little bit. Then you throw in the grip stuff, which I think could potentially affect Yu Darvish throwing so many breaking balls. And obviously it's Coors Field, right? With the heat and the humidity and all that. So I don't know. I could see Yu Darvish struggling here. Ryan McMahon is the guy that we talked about second base and third base. I should have mentioned him, but I think he's got a good chance to do some damage. And if I'm going that way, I kind of just want to stack the Rockies, right? It's kind of a bet against Yu Darvish and all the different variables going against him here. I think you'll get the Rockies very, very low owned tonight. So I did at least want to throw that out there, even though I would not play Trevor Story as a one-off or anything like that. Dansby Swanson, I think, is a really strong play tonight. Crushes lefties. He's got some seems like some really believable splits where he's very good against lefties. And that hitting environment in Atlanta, it's not Coors Field, but man, it is going to be a good one tonight too. The ball is going to be absolutely flying there. It's a good hitting environment anyway, especially when it's 85, 90 degrees, humid, and wind blowing out to center field. So Dansby Swanson, another guy near the top of my list. I'll throw in Twins guy Jorge Polanco. I don't know why he's so expensive, but he's been hitting better recently. Chris Flexen pitching for the Mariners just not any good. I think the Twins could do some damage here. I think the roof's going to be open at Safeco Field. That's probably not what it's called anymore, but the Seattle Field. It sounds like the wind's going to be blowing out, so maybe some damage from the Twins tonight here too.
All right, before we move on over to the outfield, I do want to mention we got the podcast that DC does every single week. He'll be, he does that with Steve Boyton, G. Rise, and Uncle T. all the guys over at Run Pure Sports. So check that out. It comes out in the morning. So go subscribe on Apple, Google Play, wherever you can find podcasts. Also want to talk about our partnership with SuperDraft. Use the code RunPure to get a $100 match deposit bonus. You can check out the link over on the core plays, and we give out the SuperDraft core plays over there as well. So do not miss out on all of that. But time to go on over to the outfield. But before we go to the outfield, I got to talk about this too. The likes. We are struggling here today. We are at like 123, I think, with like over 400 watching. I mean, that I got you here. We might have to, hold some of the plays if we don't get those up, right, Hoop?
Yeah, I mean, as our boy JT Hayes always says, it's very, very hurtful. I mean, we come here out of the goodness of our heart to give you guys some analysis of the MLB slate on a daily basis. And all we ask for is a simple like, a simple subscription to our channel. And it helps us out a long way. So, if you guys don't want to do that, like we always say, we can just take the plays, the stacks and everything and just move it over into the Discord, make our members happy. I'll tell you that much. We
gotta actually follow through on one of these threats once in a while. I've been doing this show for 2.5 months, pretty much every day. And never once have the plays actually been withheld from the freeloaders on YouTube.
Has to lay down the law. I've done it. I've done it during the NBA shows a couple times. That is signed right off. So it's Mangone's call.
I've done it, DC. Now don't push the number to like 400 because you just want to do this, right? We're at 144.
No,
so I'll let you decide.
I'm a man of the people. I want to give away my plays. I like hearing the sound of my own voice and taking a victory lap the next day when my play goes off. But hey, come on, hit the like if you're watching. It's just selfishness. You're watching the show, you're getting your free content, we're getting you through your workday, whatever it may be, and you can't click a simple button to give the like to the show. It's hurtful. JT Hayes, it's very hurtful.
So pick the number. We're at 450 watching. So give me the number. What do we got to get to here? 225?
We got to get 200. We got to get 200.
200. So all we need is 48 more. So try to push it over the top. And while you guys try to do that, we will talk about the outfield. DC, we'll go over to you first. Outfield is loaded every day. Trent Grisham, I mean, he was 4K yesterday and it looks stupid. He's 4.4, still feels stupid. A lot of good plays in the outfield. Break it down for me.
Yeah, Grisham, definitely my favorite Padre outfielder. Even regardless of price, even if he was kind of flipped with Pham or Will Myers, he would be the guy that I wanted. Will Myers doesn't look quite right to me, but dealt with some injuries, so we could maybe fade him. Grisham, I think the guy that I want. I do like the Twins guys. I take some crap in the Discord for recommending these Twins guys, Trevor Larnach, Alex Kirilloff. Both had good games last night. I think they're going to continue it against Chris Flexen. Both should be in the middle of that Twins lineup. They look good. Aquino for the Cincinnati Reds. I think it was back in 2019. He went on an absolute tear where he hit like 14 home runs in a month, something like that. Hit a home run yesterday. Now he's hitting second. Jesse Winker has the day off. He's 20. I think he's still 2,400. I think he's a tremendous play against Brad Anderson. I really like the Reds. Haven't mentioned them enough. Throwing Castellanos obviously into that stack as well. Other guys, Jordan Alvarez against Kyle Gibson. Gibson's my guy, but give me some Alvarez at 4,400. Just way too cheap for him. He's a 5K hitter for sure. Joey Gallo is 3,700. He's been turning it around. Like him quite a bit. I'm not on the Cardinals in general too much, but Tyler O'Neill, just an absolute beast. A couple more hits last night. And I like the matchup for him in particular. Trevor Rogers is a good pitcher, but he's coming in with those left-handed fastballs, right? A huge part of his arsenal. Tyler O'Neill, he's going to be trying to time those up. And like I've said, when he touches one on the barrel, it's out of the park. There's no question about it. So Tyler O'Neill, I think, is a good play. Cedric Mullins still too cheap at 3,500. He's been a monster all year long. Gets Cal Quantrill, who I think is actually probably worse than Matt Harvey in that same game. So really like Cedric Mullins. And then we talked about Dylan Moore. I think I prefer him at second base, but either way, I want to get him into my lineup at second or outfield.
Yeah, Hoop, as I like to call him, Aris Titties, because Aquino, he is a guy, he's got to be a Run Pure Sports guy, right? The way his name is, and we can say titties, I mean, it's perfect. So we love Aquino here over at Run Pure Sports, and he has some serious power and crushed the ball.
Dude, hits the bench, no question about it.
Yeah,
I mean, no doubt. I have to imagine. I'm just going to go out on a limb, but if you do tune into the Up to Lock show, I have a feeling that Big T is just going to absolutely drop the drawers and start peeling to this guy, right? That has to be like a massive favorite.
And he's
How can you not play this guy? Look at the power. He's up against the That's not a great Big T impression. That was my
platoon guy is Cincinnati Reds. That's his team. Like Big T, if you watch the Up to Lock show, is literally going to be jerking off to this dude. I can guarantee you that. 2.5K. And like DC said, I can remember, I think it was a couple seasons ago, like he hit home runs, it seemed like every single day for like a month straight. He was just bombing them. You said I didn't see it. You said he hit one yesterday?
Yep.
Yeah, he was hot in AAA. He's one of those guys that's like gonna go through streaks, right? Where when he's like seeing the ball well, when he's hitting it well.
Well, DC hot streaks are a thing. That's actually a thing.
I think so. I know it's what a crazy statement in 2021 to say that a sports player could potentially get hot and feel better at the plate. Clearly the case with him. I mean, he has massive strikeout issues. He's always going to have those, it seems like. But Brett Anderson can't strike anybody out. He's got the lowest strikeout rate in baseball. So you're telling me this dude who can hit at 500 feet is going to put the bat on the ball? I'll take my chances at a cheap price point for sure.
Yeah, Hoop, there's definitely a ton of guys you can play in the outfield. Give me some other guys there. Like, I'm sure you're slamming in those Padres, right? Do you like an Eddie Rosario? I mean, you talked about the Indians a little bit. He's a good price at 3.8 as well.
Yeah, I have a couple guys I like in that range. Eddie Rosario at 3.8. I'm gonna stay on the Indians despite the win thing. Michael Brantley, 3.7K. I mean, Brantley's to me just not a 3.7K hitter. Like they keep him and Alvarez super cheap all the time. So I like Alvarez. I like Brantley. Obviously the Reds guy, the Padres guys are phenomenal plays. Trent Grisham, just an egregious price tag on him. DJ Stewart, 2.3K. So another punt option there, batting fourth against the Indians. Santander, 2.9K. I mean, that's a really good price tag for him. Guy that I think could go, overlooked here, and obviously it's I think a mistake, is Ronald Acuna. I mean, 5.6K. People are spending up in the outfield. To me, this is the same situation to a lesser degree that we talked about at first base. Like
with Vlad, yes. Yeah,
with Vlad Guerrero and Hosmer. I do think the outfielders for the Padres are better, but I think Grisham is better, but Tommy Pham versus Acuna. People are going to play Tommy Pham over Acuna.
I'll take Acuna straight up over Pham.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I'm probably going to be one of those guys that plays Pham. The easy pivot in tournaments for sure is to just play Ronald Acuna Jr. at 5.6K in a good matchup at home, hot weather. Basically 1-2, him and Guerrero, two top hitters in baseball.
I love the Braves tonight.
Yeah. So I think that's a great pivot. But as always, outfield is loaded up. We have spends, we have cheap guys, a lot of different ways to go. But we can tell you right now, the guys that are going to be highly owned, it's going to be all the Padres guys, and it's going to be this dude for the Reds. Those are going to be probably the four highest owned outfielders. So in tournaments, very easy to know, the guys you should pivot away from.
All right, DC, give me some final outfielders, and then we'll move on to the stacks.
Yeah, I talked about the Twins guys a little bit. I'll go back to Brian Reynolds. I still like that Brian Hayes, Brian Reynolds mini stack against Patrick Corbin, 2-3 hitters there in a park upgrade for them. I'm with Hoop 100% on Acuna. Just going to be way too low owned tonight for what he brings to the table. Especially he was, kind of questionable to play for most of the day. So anybody that made their lineups early, he wasn't in there almost certainly. And I think that'll kind of reduce the Braves ownership overall. Another guy at the very top that will be, I think, even way less owned than Acuna. You can get Juan Soto. I know the numbers look bad for him. I think he's the exact same hitter he was last year. He's 6K, lefty on lefty. It's Tyler Anderson and the Pittsburgh bullpen. And you're going to get Juan Soto, maybe sub 1%, maybe. I don't think people are even thinking about playing Juan Soto. So he's a guy that I like a lot. Shohei Ohtani, another guy. You get some leverage, right? We think Frankie Montas is going to be heavily owned. Ohtani's just an absolute monster, especially against right-handed pitching. And Montas throws, 60, 75% fastball, somewhere in there, depending on the start. I'll take my chances with Ohtani. I know that it's a big park, but have you seen the home runs Ohtani hits? It doesn't matter where he's playing. These things are flying 460, 470 feet out of the yard, you'll get him low ownership as well. So I do think pivoting from the chalk Padres guys that are expensive to these other expensive outfielders, Nick Castellanos, I'll throw him in there against the lefty. Seems like a pretty savvy move, frankly, in tournaments. Obviously, fading Coors could be, a death knell, right? You could just lose. Padres put up 12, 14 runs. You're probably going down, but it's not like there aren't other good spots on this slate. Plenty of great spots. So we've tried to highlight a few of those. Of course, if you want to play the Padres, I have no problem with it, but don't think that those guys are going to be the only guys that go off tonight. There's going to be plenty of big performances from offensive bats tonight. There just are. So it's not like even if the Padres guys go off, you can't necessarily catch them if you pick the right guys. So just make sure the guys you pick have big upside. That's the key, right? You can't pick some singles hitters in the outfield because there's just going to be too many big performances.
All right, Hoop, let's go on to our stacks. And one question from J10 is directed to you. Would you play SD in single entry as a mini stack or as a full 5-man or fade? So answer that one, Hoop. 5-man, 3-man, full fade on that for the San Diego Padres, and then talk about your stacks.
Well, I mean, it really depends what you're doing with the other part of your team. Like if you're going to stack the Padres tonight, don't go ahead and stack them with, I don't know, maybe like the Braves. I mean, would the Braves be a popular team?
I don't think the Braves will be popular, actually.
Yeah, and get creative. We always talk about it. You can easily go to the bottom. Like if you stack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're not going to be different than anyone else. You're just really limiting your chances of getting up to the top. I mean, if you are stacking the Padres, get creative with your stack, and then your secondary team should definitely be a little bit under lower owned type stack. For sure, because pairing the Padres with another popular team is just going to be too hard to get to the top, especially in single entry.
All right, Hoop, any final thoughts on your stacks? You got I know you talked about the Indians a little bit.
I like the Indians a little more than you guys. They just, these guys kind of just grind out runs, and not necessarily the greatest thing for DFS, but I think they put up runs here. Hopefully one or two of them hit home runs. Like they don't have a ton of guys that have the pop, but I do really like Bobby Bradley. I do really like Rosario. So I like the Indians here. I do like the Blue Jays. I don't think many people will be on the Blue Jays. They scored the 18 on Sunday, laid a dud yesterday. Like a lot of teams kind of dudded out yesterday. I like going right back to the Blue Jays here tonight. Let's see, what else do we got? Obviously I like the Padres, but that's
yeah, you love the Padres, which I get. I mean, you have to like them. We got a question in chat. Richie Smalls 23 is asking, are your core plays good for both GPPs and cash games? We have a cash chart where it gives you our cash player pool, the only guys that we would consider in cash games. So yeah, and we have a core plays there on the cash chart. DC is asking for you. Are your core plays good for GPPs and cash games, DC?
Yeah, I mean, I would generally kind of consult the cash chart, right? I think those are going to be better cash plays in general, but of course anyone in my GPP plays I think has a great chance to or an above average chance compared to the field at least to produce a big game. So yeah, if you want to mix in some of those guys in cash games, I don't think there's any problem with that at all.
And I think the answer to that question varies sport to sport. In MLB DFS, yes, you can take GPP mindsets and have success in cash games because you're really shooting for big games, and the variance in MLB is there. In a sport like NBA, you probably don't want to go to our GPP players and take their cores and play them in cash games. It's not the best route.
100%. Because in the NBA, like a lot of times the GPP guys are like, oh, I hope this guy gets in foul trouble and then my center is going to come in for 30 minutes, something like that. Whereas like anyone in my core plays for baseball is certainly capable of big game. Like that's why they're there in the first place. So yeah, you can mix those guys in, no doubt.
All right, DC, we need 4 more likes, and if we don't get them after you say your stacks, I'm just telling Simon to get us out of here. So
I hope we can get 4 more likes. That would be kind of a sad.
Well, if we don't, by the time
sad end of the show if we couldn't. But yeah, you're right. I appreciate you laying down the law. Stacks. I mean, we've mentioned a lot of them already. I'll throw 2 more into the mix. I think the Mariners and Twins game has a chance to go way over that 8.5 total. I think both of these pitchers, JSURab for the Twins, Chris Flexen for the Mariners, just not any good at all. And you get some decent cheap options up and down this lineup. I mean, Luis Arraez is not the best GPP player, but he's 2.4K leading off against Flexen. Like he's good. Larnach, Cruz, Kirilloff, Polanco. I mean, even down to Sano. I think the Twins could do some damage. Same thing for the Mariners. No lineup yet there. I'd throw them in the mix. And then I really like the Braves tonight. I know Eduardo Rodriguez has kind of a big name. I think that's mostly because he pitches in Boston, where I just think, some of those East Coast pitchers just have, for whatever reason, a better reputation than their actual skills. I think the Braves could absolutely bomb Eduardo Rodriguez tonight. They hit better at home anyway. We've mentioned a couple times, absolutely optimal hitting conditions in Atlanta. So yeah, that 1-5 Braves stack. You could throw in Contreras too as a catcher if you want to get a little different, but I think the Braves are going to do some damage tonight.
All right, DC, you got it home. I was excited to tell Simon to get us out of here, but I guess we'll go on over to Hoop. Hoop, give me your play of the day. Who do you got here?
Yeah, so I'm going to go to a team that I have some interest in. I talked about the Blue Jays, and it's a guy that has been disappointing despite the hot Blue Jays team for the most part. They put up the 18 on Sunday. He did absolutely nothing. Randall Grichuk is going to finally get us a bomb here tonight.
Ooh,
Moderate price tag. Going to be very low owned with a lot of people going to the Padres outfield. Give me Randall Grichuk, 4X play of the day.
All right, Randall Grichuk it is. We'll go to you, DC. You're excited to give the plays of the day for the people. So who do you got here? Who is Mom's Basement play of the day?
I was all set for Dylan Moore, but you mentioned him first. I can't go there. So I will go to my backup, Dansby Swanson for the Braves. I think you're going to get Dansby super, super low owned, but he is crushing lefties this year. A ton of hard contact. I think he's going to have RBI opportunities galore in this game. And, the Braves hitting environment is such that you hit a well-struck fly ball, I think, in Atlanta tonight, and good things are going to happen. I think it's going over the wall. So Dansby Swanson. I'll go a little further. I'm calling a first inning 3-run blast for Dansby Swanson. There you go.
There you go. I'm going to give you two. So I'm going to give you one on FanDuel and one on DK. I'm playing more FanDuel today. I think I'm going to go with Aristides Aquino. I can't say the name right. On FanDuel, because I don't think people are just going to play him, right? I think you can just play kind of whoever you want to on FanDuel. So I'm definitely going to be playing him over there as one of my punt options. I think he'll just still go overlooked. It won't matter. But on DK, I don't want to give him out there. I'll probably end up, I think chalk is gravitating towards him. Maybe
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm doing that. And I don't mind him on FanDuel. If I do decide to do the full stack of this team, maybe I'll do it. Eugenio Suarez, right? At third base, a way to get a little bit different against the lefty. Don't hate it. I think leaving off Manny Machado within your Padres stack is a smart way to get different. I'm not going to leave Tatis off. If I leave anyone off, it's Machado. If he burns me, so be it. But if I want to play those Padres, I think getting different with Suarez, who can smash some lefties a bit, that's the guy I'm going to go with my play of the day. But that'll wrap it up for us. You got those likes home for us, which we appreciate a ton. We got the premium show coming up next with Big T, Holden, and JSU. They'll be breaking it all down for you guys. Then we got Hoop giving you that PGA golf show for free tonight. They're giving out a ticket as well at 8:30. So be sure to check that out. Sign up for a membership. Use that code RPSHeater25 to get 25% off and to be eligible for that. Hoop, before we get on out of here, do they just have to be a member? How are you kind of doing the picking for that ticket?
Yeah, you have to basically be a member, and you need to be in the YouTube chat watching, because we're going to pick somebody that's in there that is a member and watching the PGA show tonight. So, the two requirements are be a member at Run Pure Sports. If you're not already, you can use that promo code RPSHeater25 on a monthly package. And the second requirement is you just need to be there watching the show later in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, and Hoop, we've had a member once say, "Oh, I can't get on the bench because I gotta listen to Hoop and AP and whoever's there, Uncle T and Snyder talk about golf." This is a time maybe you can make an exception. Be like, okay, we don't have to rewatch this. We got to be here live for the ticket, right, Hoop? So no bench for the 888 ticket. Is that what we're looking for here?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Probably the only excuse to not be hitting the bench and watching the show.
It's an hour-long show. How long do you need? Come on.
That's the real thing here. I mean, really, yeah. What do you wait? Like, how long do you
try to be efficient here at RPS, so let's go.
Yep. Time is money, and we're doing our best to bring you all the money we can. We're trying the best to consolidate all the info for you over at runpuresports.com. So check that out. But we got to get on out of here. For me, Mangone, Hoop, and DC. See you guys later.